Dignity. Now. Dignity.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we demand?
Dignity.
When do we demand it?
Now.
Thank you.
Do-do-do-do.
Dignity, recovery, mental health now. Dignity, recovery, mental health now.
Dignity, recovery, mental health now. Dignity, recovery, mental health now. Dignity, recovery, mental health now. Dignity.
What are we here for today?
Mental health now.
Recovery, mental health now. Dignity, recovery, mental health now. Dignity, recovery, mental health now.
Dignity, recovery, mental health now.
Dignity, recovery,
Mental health now.
dignity, recovery, mental health now. Yeah, just throw my hand. It's a valid day, people. It's a valid day. Out here, to send out our message of what? Dignity. When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want it for? Mental health. When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Dignity.
When do we want it? What
Now.
do we want it for?
Health.
When do we want it?
Now.
They're not even in section today.
That's the way we do it.
They're not in section, you know that.
Oh, yeah,
I call these people down here the monkeys.
yeah.
Because they don't do shit.
Yeah.
They don't. Whoever the next president may be, he or she, guess what? It'll be the same nonsense. It'll be the same thing. The United States is in the toilet bowl. It's never going to get out of it. It needs help.
Needs help. Yeah, it's ELP, help.
See, if I ran for president, if not, you know what I would do? Sit down with my cabinet, one at a time, go to every state, and then say, okay, what do you guys need the most?
We also
Then-
know that we move forward. We keep going through the hard times
Hello.
because we have strength, we have resilience, and because we have what?
Dignity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All over the country. Talk about indignity. How this one is so much better.
Dignity. Is it in record? Yeah.
The Bell of Hope has been the symbol of Mental Health America. It's a big bell. It's about the size of the Super Bell. And if you've ever heard it ring, I'll bet you'll have the same reaction that I do every time I hear it. I cry. The fact that we have a symbol that reminds us of how far we have come. But look at us. This is how far we have come. But we're not there yet. Not there at all. And you hear from our speakers today. Hope, and you also hear about where we are, that it's where we want to be. And one of the people so instrumental in getting us to where we want to be. I'm about to introduce now. And that's my wonderful friend, Judge Ginger Lerner Lynn. Ginger is the first person to bring mental health to bring dignity to this country. And she's got a lot of fabulous things to tell you. I'm not going to steal her thunder. So it is most pride that I feel that I can say that Ginger is my wonderful friend. Please help me welcome Judge Ginger Lerner.
So, folks, just bear with us 1 minute. We want to be able to give you all the benefit of Judge Ginger's insight and wisdom. So we're still working on sound here for just a minute, but in the meantime, I just want to give a shout out to some people that I know are in the audience. Susan Rogers here, a great champion for many years. Dr. Arthur Evans here, who's you're going to hear amazing things from. He's made an amazing difference for Philadelphia, but also the world in so many ways. I want to give a shout out to Anne Arundel, Maryland, Montgomery County, and other Anne Arundel people. Also to Psychiatric Rehabilitation Association. Thanks so much, you guys, for coming. We have so many national champions and partners here. It's pretty amazing. I think that once you start to think about, you look at the number of organizations in our coalition, you'll start to recognize that this is the moment where we're able to bring so much leadership together and make change. Also, of course, Mental Health America, national and local, our organization. American Behavioral Health and Wellness, big leadership. Pamela Greenberg back there somewhere. Said you would say hi. And collaborative support programs in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Harvey's people staffers are on their way. Okay, who else is with us? American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
Right. Yeah.
Copeland Center for Wellness and Recovery.
Wellness and recovery.
There's a lot of people here, and I don't want to miss anybody. But in the meantime, Karis, you were hiding over there. There's Myrick, one of our great champions in the recovery movement, now at SAMHSA, Center for Mental Health Services. And we're going to be checking in. Can we check in with the sound people?
Sound people.
Any progress? Okay, just a reminder for people who have just recently come in, if you haven't checked in yet, you go over to the table over there, you'll get your green ribbon. You're going to want to have with you. And then when we get ready for the march too, we're going to hand out some others, because part of what we'd like to have you do is to give those green ribbons out to other people. To bring people into this movement. Because I don't know about you, but if I go out there on a given day and I wear my green ribbon and somebody says, "What is that for?" I say it's for mental health awareness. And then what I say to them is, "Do you have mental health?" And just by asking that question, you will see how many people are with you. Almost everybody will say, "Yes, I have mental health." And part of that is sometimes it's not great. That's the way we're going to bring 70 million people into this movement. By empowering people, by reaching out, by connecting around the values of human dignity. So, how are you doing, Ginger? Are we doing okay over here?
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. It's not taken? No? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're CSPNJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I've spoken out there before, maybe 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I think twice I've spoken at, once at the wellness conference, and
Okay.
I don't remember what the other conference was.
Good, good. Yeah, I'm part of one of the centers they have. They have centers across the state.
Okay, which part of the state are you?
The center, Middlesex,
Okay.
New Brunswick. I hear you. Sometimes it records, sometimes it just sits there.
Testing, 1, 2, dignity, testing.
We want it again. That's right.
Okay, we're gonna go for it. So, first of all, such a thrill to be here. I'm Judge Ginger Lerner Wren. Could anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Are we fired up?
Yeah.
Are we ready to take the journey? All right, fantastic. It's really my incredible honor to be here today to join you on this journey to dignity, not just for all Americans affected with mental illness, but for all people around the world. As you know, today is World Mental Health Day. And for those who may not know, this year's theme is psychological first aid. A fitting theme as so many people
families are in crisis due to long-standing barriers to mental health care. Barriers which could be traced back to centuries-old social stigma, underfunded community systems of care, financing structures which exclude benefits and leave people and families waiting for crisis. In a large sense, our nation's mental health and public health system is in a moral crisis, stuck in a chasm which does not reflect just a crisis. Values or truths surrounding recovery and wellness. As the pioneer of America's first mental health court, a court dedicated to decriminalization and human rights, I have learned a great deal about the power of dignity. I have learned that dignity is its own force. Dignity dispels fears and levels the playing field. Ultimately, the promotion of dignity and respect is a reflection of fairness, the integrity of legal process. Dignity is the shield which protects civil rights and human rights. In essence, rejecting stigma in favor of equality and human dignity is the essence of social justice. Yeah, you can clap, sure, absolutely. America's first mental health court is the story of a young man by the name of Aaron Wynn. It's troubling, even now, almost 20 years later, to acknowledge that a community in search of solutions to its deficient community mental health system opted for a specialized court simply to get people out of jail who are being arrested, largely as a result of barriers to care, which I described earlier. For Broward County, Florida, it would take the tragic experiences of a young man by the name of Aaron Wynn. For those unfamiliar with Aaron was 18 years old. He loved sports and the ocean. He was set to leave for college when he was hit by a car while driving his motorcycle in Plantation, Florida. Aaron experienced traumatic brain injury, and his parents shared with his public defender that they tried everything to get him rehabilitation and help. Aaron's condition worsened to the point where he could not control his behavior. One day, he got into an assaultive encounter with a police officer, and Aaron was committed to a Florida State Forensic Hospital. There, Aaron spent 2.5 years in seclusion and restraint, 19,000 hours to be exact. When Aaron was released, he was now suffering from PTSD and schizophrenia. His parents did not have the expertise to take care of him, and there were no residential programs to place him. Aaron bounced from one substandard assisted living facility to another. One day, while shopping at a local grocery store in South Florida, Aaron panicked while he was checking out at a cashier. He darted out of the store and collided with an 85-year-old woman who fell to the pavement and died of injuries sustained in the fall. Aaron was charged with murder. It took an enlightened public defender to connect the dots that the community's failure to provide treatment and services to Aaron contributed to this event. He wrote the grand jury. A comprehensive investigation ensued, which ultimately found that Broward's mental health system was deplorable. The grand
No,
jury
I'm
found the
looking at the
system
Capitol.
of care lacked cohesiveness. It was
Mhm.
severely and chronically underfunded and was accountable to no one. Does this sound familiar?
Okay. Okay,
Let
wow.
me hear you.
Okay, thank you.
The people in need of
Okay,
mental health
bye-bye.
care are unable to access or afford services.
My
That
boss is
decent
in the
and
hospital
safe
now.
housing is not available,
My
and
manager.
waiting lists so long that people give up. And one
I'm spending
thing
an
leads
overnight
to
there.
another, and life unravels.
Wow.
All of us
She's supposed to
here
be
know
here.
the research and the
She was. She's supposed
consequences
to
of
be,
untreated
where?
mental health conditions. For many families, relationships
hospital.
break down, distress builds, people turn to substance use, and then the revolving door begins. Cycling between jails, emergency rooms, and homeless shelters. No dignity, no treatment, no hope. Every day in mental health court, I beg and plead for resources to move people out of jail who need a place to live and deserve dignity in the community. Since the court began in 1997, I was a lot younger then, we've moved over 19,000 people out of our local jail system with no money, no grants, just the collaboration of a community with a thirst for justice that goes unquenched to this day. We all know how perilous it is for vulnerable people with mental health and other related disabilities to be incarcerated. I have spent time with surveyors from Human Rights Watch who recommended Broward's mental health court as a strategy to avoid further escalation deeper into the criminal justice system. As we gather today, even without a working microphone, there are close to 400,000 people imprisoned, out of sight, out of mind in this country, and that does not include local jails. Penal settings which are rife for systemic violence, excessive use of force, shaming, humiliation, and even torture. It is beyond time to call for an end to the criminalization of people with mental illness in America. Can you think of any greater human rights violation than locking someone up who is ill, unable to access treatment, and then turn around and blame them for manifestations of an illness that they cannot control and symptoms that are outside of their will? It is. You can clap.
Yeah.
Come on. In the United States, which incarcerates more people than any other country in the world,
We do.
our jails and prisons serve as a shadow hospital system. So let's talk about that for a moment, Dr. Evans, as I read your testimony before the Health Committee. I don't know too many judges who have spent time in a state psychiatric hospital as part of their legal training as a lawyer, but I did. I spent over a year in South Florida State Hospital as a PAMI lawyer and plaintiff's advocate on a federal class action where I worked with the legendary Sally Clay, who was a consumer, who was a consumer expert and consultant for the plaintiff's team. There I learned a great deal about isolation, dehumanization, and the trauma of institutionalization, and I learned more about recovery. I know that with compassion, the right kind of care, peer support, and choice, people recover, return to work and school, and many go on to become amazing advocates just like you are here today. Give yourselves a round of applause. I love you. You made the journey for dignity, and together we will usher in a new era of change and social justice, but we have work to do. We have truths that must be told. 1, we must promote recovery like it is a brand. People I work with every day, judges, lawyers, probation officers, whoever, they do not believe that people actually recover from mental health conditions. 2, it's true. We must demand that the ongoing criminal justice reform movement include people with mental illness and other related disabilities, and we need parity in terms of reentry services and initiatives to reduce mass incarceration in America. 3, we must be clear in message and vision that policymakers must prioritize mental health as vital to overall health and well-being in the United States and around the world from a recovery perspective with cultural sensitivity and dignity. 4, almost done. We must cross the criminal justice chasm to public health. Period. The reliance on psych jails like Cook County, like LA Towers, like Rikers must end. It is morally wrong and indefensible. I expect the amazing Dr. Arthur Evans to talk about how this is going to be done, and I cannot wait to hear him. Lastly, we must find new strategies to advance and ensure compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act and Olmstead. Not simply because it is the right thing to do, but because it is the law. We need Olmstead to be understood for children and adults confined inappropriately in nursing homes, group homes, and institutions. Policy makers and elected officials must see Olmstead as part of the Americans with Disabilities Act. They must see Olmstead in the same light as they see ramps or elevators or technical assistive devices to navigate and engage in the community. For people affected with mental health conditions, Olmstead is the ramp to freedom, the elevator to employment opportunities and economic mobility and decent housing. Olmstead is the legal tool to guide planning, service implementation, and system of care funding choices so we can develop community systems that are preventative and recovery-oriented and not driven by crisis. This is our work, Destination Dignity. Are you ready?
Yay!
Thank you all for this great honor. Never lose faith. God bless you.
Hi everybody, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it again for Judge Ginger Largo. I gotta tell you how lucky I am and how honored I am to have some of the best friends in the whole world. You've just heard one. And now I get to introduce another one of my dear, dear friends in the world. My friend Susan Rogers.
Good to see you.
Has been a stalwart in the recovery movement for more than 30 years.
She was admitted to the hospital.
30 years you were just getting warmed up. But Susan has been at the forefront, at the leadership.
She just got there
and
this
not
morning.
only her
I hope she's
work,
okay.
Me
but
too.
helping
She's supposed to be here, so she
people in
canceled.
recovery to make their words better and stronger. I have been the lucky recipient of Susan's great editing skills, as well as her inspirational abilities, as well as the fact that Susan has been out in the world teaching people how to effectively advocate here in the Capitol, on the Hill, all over the country, in doing letters and messaging, and now she's one of the queens of Twitter, in how to get the word out, how to amplify our voices. And Susan's message will be one you really want to hear. So please help me in welcoming my dear friend Susan Rogers.
Okay, Debbie is the queen of hyperbole, I would think. And Debbie, I hope people understand the important role Debbie plays in our movement. And, you know, there's somebody I really need to mention. First of all, I want to thank everyone who's here, all the organizers who did such an amazing job. And I also have to have a shout out to my mentor, Joseph Rogers, who I learned everything from, and except about editing. I didn't learn editing from him, but I learned advocacy from him. And if you don't know him, you're missing a lot, and he would be here if he could, and he's here in spirit. And I'm very excited to be here today. And I know that our overarching goal is to fight the discrimination and prejudice that are associated with mental health conditions. But, you know, that's a really big goal. I mean, we need to break that down in order to accomplish some smaller goals along the way. And I'm here to talk about two of those battles that we're in the midst of fighting. Now, one of those battles, we've won a skirmish in that battle, and the other battle is still to be won. Okay, so the goal of the first battle was to get two North American theme park chains. One is called Cedar Fair and one is called Six Flags, to cancel or revamp their hideous and horrible and you know, disgusting Halloween exhibits. And the Cedar Fair exhibit, which was in two California theme parks and one in Toronto, they were constantly claiming that it had nothing to do with mental health. This is in spite of the Los Angeles Times reporter who went to this exhibit and reported that it follows a demonically possessed patient named Katie who unleashes chaos throughout the hospital and takes mental control of the medical staff. And another giveaway is that the name of this virtual reality exhibit, which was called Fear VR 5150, 5150, for those who don't know it, is the California code for involuntary outpatient commitment for 72 hours, okay? So they're still saying no, it had nothing to do with mental health conditions. Now, the Six Flags exhibit involves a maze that visitors navigate in real life. Here's one description. I'm reading from their website, which has now been changed. Our new haunted house brings you face to face with the world's worst psychiatric patients. Traverse Traverse the haunted hallways of Dark Oaks Asylum and try not to bump into any of the grunting inmates around every turn. Maniacal inmates yell out from their blood-stained rooms, and deranged guards wander the corridors in search of those who have escaped. I mean, really? You know, so as a result of powerful advocacy from maybe some of you participated, I know Harvey Rosenthal did, and some others participated in this advocacy initiative, including family members, including us, including, allies, friends. It ended up where Cedar Fair shut their exhibit completely down, and the Six Flags people turned their grunting and maniacal inmates into zombies. Like, who doesn't love some zombies, right? Okay, now the Cedar Fair victory came in stages. First they were like, who, us? What's this got to do with us? And then they said, okay, if you somehow think that the number 5150, which we picked at random, has anything to do with mental health, we'll get rid of that. So they got rid of that. But then we didn't let up, and finally they said, okay, since you seem to keep misunderstanding and think it has something to do with people with mental health conditions, we'll shut this sucker down.